So, good afternoon to all of you. We'll start today's session. So, in our previous section, we had started discussing on business research process. So, this is nothing but various steps involved in any research. So, we are going to discuss as per different steps involved in the business research process. Uh, 11 different steps involved in the business research process. We have discussed the first and second step, is it not? Formulating the research problem, and then we have discussed about the extensive literature survey. So I have also discussed about how to do the literature survey using Google Scholar. So I have explained you as how you have to search articles, how you have, and I have given you an assignment as where you are supposed to collect 10 articles related to in IT industry, right? It has to be done. So if you do that exercise and assignment, you become much familiar with the. Okay, so why literature survey has to be done? It has to be done so that you gain some more knowledge in the of your research. So in research, as there are, in different areas you can do, right? Say if you HR area itself, there are so many areas that can be done. In marketing, in finance, each one there is so. Okay. So nobody can be a master in in detail. They you cannot be able to know what to do and how to do. But overall, So in a particular area, how the data has to be collected, what methodology to be adopted, and what should be the objectives of the research. Should I do the research? How should I do the research? How should I collect the data? So this, if you do literature survey, you will come to know. And also, what are the findings related to that area, research already done in that area, what were their findings? So you can link that to your study now. So in this specific case, I have asked you to do employee turnover in IT industry. So when you look that, yesterday we were saying so many lakhs of web links were there for that articles, right? So only, and it is only in Google Scholar and related journals. Other than that, there are so many, hundreds of other sources are there. So you can imagine how many studies, and it is not so like that. So it is just, you need to at least, review few articles. Literature survey has to be done. So that is called as literature survey, what I have given you and what you will be doing. So as of now, if you think that, so now the source for you for literature survey is Google Scholar. So there are other sources also. Okay, I have mentioned here emeraldinsight.com, ProQuest. So these are the management related, e-resources for academic scholarly articles. That there are conference proceedings are there. Conferences are being organized in institutions, in universities. They organize conferences under a area, and they call for academics to submit and present their papers, their findings, research findings. So that finally after the conference they will be printing a booklet, conference proceeding. So in that is another source. Much easier, I have asked you to search in Google Scholar. So for you it is very much easier compared to before before the evolution of this internet. Okay. Earlier, if you were supposed to do a literature survey, what you are supposed, I would have told you to go to library. I would have told you go to the library, then you have to check. So there physical journals are there. Something like you have magazines, journals are there. Okay. So management related, marketing related, HR related, okay, finance related journals are there where it's a collection of various articles. It is published again and again, or conference proceedings are there. Okay, so you were supposed to go there and physically check, so it is more time consuming. So now yesterday you have seen in a Google Scholar, just when I have typed that, links in just few seconds. And obviously reading it will take some time, and reading all that so many lakhs, it is not practically possible. You can say if you spend say at least half, you can read at least some 15, 20, 30 articles you can read. Okay, but otherwise if it was in the previous edition, you would have spent say at least 20 articles. If you should collect, it would have taken minimum 2 days for you after reaching a particular library. So normally the main sources of libraries were IIM library, IIM Bangalore. Okay, that is common in South India for management related, I'm telling. Okay, so like that. These days, because of digital revolution, all digital sources are e-journals are there. So nobody is going to go for that much less. They'll go for such physical libraries. So e-libraries are there, e-journals are there. Those become the main sources. .com, ProQuest.com, Google Scholar. These are very specific search engines and source. And government reports. Government also publishes various data, statistics related to their particular area. So that can be referred. So literature survey means you have to go through the existing literatures on your particular area which you are interested in, which you want to study. So that is extensive literature survey. Then the next step, the third step in research is development of a working hypothesis. So hypothesis, in the very beginning of our discussion, we have told you hypothesis is nothing but assumption. An assumption that is made in the beginning of the research. When you are going, okay. So it's a tentative assumption. It should be very specific. It should be very clear. As the assumption, it should be a statement and it should be very clear. For example, yesterday we were discussing the influence, say, the sales is coming down. So that may be a business problem and research problem to find out what the reason. Example, we can frame a hypothesis. This is the area of our research. So what can be the hypothesis here? Assumption that advertisement has a significant influence on sales. Advertisement has a significant influence on sales. So in general we can say yes, it is there, but you have to prove it. You have to prove, and it depends from product to product. Okay, whether advertisement really has some influence or not. Okay, like that. Rain, another, in a general sense, rain has an influence on the coffee production, coffee yield. Other day I think I have told that same example. I don't know. It is general statement that I am telling. It is an assumption. So I have to prove it. How? I have to collect data about rain. I have to production, coffee crop yield. I have to collect it year-wise for so many past years. I have to collect this one. What is the yield? And obviously there are other variables also involved. The fertilizer and other factors are all temperature, climate conditions. All that also is matter. Although that also matters. Similarly, in our case here, sales. It is not just advertisement. Say other pricing influence, economy influences, right? So like that, so many factors, other factors influence. But you will have to test it. So any assumption. So in this particular case, I said advertising has a significant influence on. We cannot just say sales. So our study may be related to a particular advertisement. Say if you are doing a research on Samsung mobile phones. Okay, so I would say advertising has a significant influence on Samsung mobile phone sales. Statement, that is an assumption that I have made. I have to prove this through my research. By doing research, I have to prove this with numbers. So what I have to do, I have to check how much of how much advertisements were there, and I have to collect data from the consumers. How many people have influenced to purchase mobile phones because they were influenced by advertisement. So I have to determine the sample size and so many numbers of people. I have to apply some statistical tools, and then I will have to prove whether this is really true or not. Okay, so whether that assumption is true or not, I have to prove it through research. So that you are developing here now, working hypothesis. You are defining here. So how to develop that? It should be done. It is not just sitting in a alone and just thinking. Yes, thinking it should there. It should be there. You will have to collect various literature for this purpose also. So literature survey that you are doing, it will also help you in framing the hypothesis. Okay. And also you have to discuss with the experts, with the colleagues, your guide, and so on. So when you discuss with these people, you will come to know what should be the of records, secondary data. We call this secondary data. Already collected data are there. It may be in the organization, it may be in the library. Data, okay, primary data and secondary data is there. That will clarify in the later part. Okay, so examination of record. Record means already existing data. You will have to read and understand. That will help you to frame the hypothesis. Review similar studies, as I already said. Say literature survey is nothing but reviewing the similar studies in the area, in that particular area. study and what was their hypothesis, whether you can implement the same hypothesis, whether you want to change that hypothesis. Exploratory investigation. So we had discussed the exploratory research, where exploratory research is done to gain more insight, to clear the ambiguity, gain through focus group, in-depth interview, literature survey. These are the different methods of conducting exploratory investigation or exploratory research. By this, you will be able to develop a working hypothesis for the research. And it is not compulsory for every research there should be a hypothesis, not necessary. Okay. When you are doing more depth study, you want to do more analysis, then compulsory. For every research, it is not compulsory to have hypothesis. A plan. Before you are doing something, you are planning how you are going to collect data, what data you are going to collect, what is the instrument that you are going to use to collect the data. So you know that research means you are going to collect data. Yes, collect data, correct. How are you going to collect data? What technique you are going to use? So we will come to know there are different techniques of collecting data. Okay, and types of data we have said. Say primary data is there, secondary research. Yes, you can avoid it. You can't avoid collecting secondary data. It should be there. Primary data, if you are collecting, what type of primary data and how you are going to collect, whether you are going to use questionnaire method, whether you are going to do focus group, which technique, observation, experiment, what techniques you are going to use. It should be very clearly identified and explained in this blueprint or research design. Okay, in the research design is nothing but a blueprint. And after collecting, what tools you are going to use to analyze the data, statistical tools, which test you are going to use to test the hypothesis, right? How are you going to present the findings? So all these things very clearly, when you are preparing this, that becomes a research design. Okay, when are you going to complete this? When are you going to collect the primary data? When are you going to collect the secondary data? When are you going to do the analysis? When will be you are coming with the final? When are you going to prepare the report? Everything will be in a time bound manner. It should be very clearly mentioned in this research design. And the cost involved. How much is the cost that you may incur in doing this research? So that also will be specified. So this is nothing but a blueprint or a plan. So that has to be developed. Then determining the sample size. So as we know, primary data, you need respondents. Okay, if you are collecting data, primary data, yes, obviously it is through respondents. So how many respondents? You cannot collect from all the people. Say if you are doing a survey on Samsung mobile phones, survey on Samsung, satisfaction of Samsung mobile phone, a study on the satisfaction of Samsung mobile phones. Okay, if you're doing, you cannot say that I am going to every Samsung mobile phone customers. No, it is not possible, right? Literally, it's not possible. The cost you cannot manage, the time you cannot manage. How many? And it is not necessary also for that certain portion of that population. So now I am using a word population. Okay, population does not mean the population of a country. Here in research, the population is the total number of the say customers. In this case, say Samsung mobile phone, Samsung mobile phone users becomes the population for this particular study, or it is called as universe. Okay, universe in the context of, right. So universe or population refers to all the customers of Samsung phone in the context of research if you are doing on Samsung phones. Then take a small portion only, that is sample size. Maybe you may determine, say in my case it may be, there are certain formulas to determine the sample size. Different formulas are there. A formula it may be adopted, and maybe in my case it may be coming some, say if I am doing a survey in Mangalore region, it is applicable to Mangalore region, a study on the Samsung mobile phones in the Mangalore region. Maybe I may get a sample size of say 500. 500 is my sample size. It may come like that. Then I will have to collect data from that 500. So that 500 becomes my sample size. Okay, I may use a questionnaire to collect, or I may use a focus group or depth interview, anything. But the sample size, I may use some sample determining, formulas. Some sample size, majority of the cases it is the data is collected from the sample size only. Okay, population it is not possible, but some cases you may be able to do it, you may be able to collect from the whole population. Maybe you want to study the employee satisfaction or SBI bank in Hampankatta, Mangalore branch, Hampankatta, employee satisfaction you want to determine. So there you can collect from each and every employee. So maybe some 600, 700 employees are there in SBI Hampankatta branch. So it is possible. 700 people you can, give a survey, you can give a questionnaire and collect. That is not difficult. Some cases it is, so Samsung customers or other brand of products, right? Say use Toshiba laptop, LG laptops. So all these are, from everybody it is not possible. And another, so that is also called a census survey. If I am collecting data from all the population, then that is called as census survey. Got it? So again I remind, don't confuse with the word population here. So population refers to customers in a particular case. If it is you are doing a survey on a customers, total number of customers of a particular product. And what in, okay, if you are studying the, say, customer behavior of Maruti car users, then all the Maruti car users become the, like that. So like that. So it is not necessary to collect from the whole population. Say an example, simple and all example is given. So there is some fever. A fever is there for a person, and how to test it? What type of fever it is? Now COVID is there. They will take the sample, throat sample, throat and nasal this one droplets samples. They will collect and test it. But otherwise, other type of fevers, it is not like that. What they will collect? Blood. Blood. How much blood they will collect? This is a small portion. They will take a syringe and they will take few ml, 5 ml blood is sufficient. So that gives you the result. So it is blood in the body. So if your whole blood contains something, it will be there in that sample also. So sample is sufficient to collect the fact about the whole population. So that's why sample size is taken. Okay. So in that, probability and non-probability sampling techniques are there. We will be discussing about it in the coming units. What type of sampling? Sampling size, you know. In sampling, also there are certain techniques. So broadly, that is probability and non-probability sampling techniques are there. So further about this, we will be discussing in the later units. What is probability sampling? What is non-probability sampling? I think if you have taken, you had a statistics, subject there. Obviously, there was a discussion on this, right? Then collection of data. Collection of data. So once you determine what is the sample size, you have to collect the data. So how to collect the data? There are different techniques for that also. So by observation, you will do observation and collect the data. So example, for example, setup, mall environment, how customers behave, or supermarket environment, how do the customer behave? That is your area of study. How it can be done? Observation can be done. Again, in observation, there are two types: mechanical observation and manual observation. Mechanical observation is something like a CCTV camera is fixed in different corners of a supermarket. So your study is to study the market. Something like SPAR, SPAR, right? So there, how do the consumers behave? Whether people come, majority of them come, whether they really buy some product, how much time they spend, what products they buy in general, whether the display influence them on their purchase. So these type of data, if your study requires, then it can be very easily collected through observation. It may be mechanical observation, as I said, a CCTV camera may be fixed in the different corners, and it will collect the data of number, what products they have bought, everything, every detail. So it will be connected to the servers, and servers will be having application, analyze and give the data. Okay, so such observation can be done. Some observers, maybe humans can observe and collect data, but they have to stay from morning till evening, from opening of the store to the closing of the store for several days. They will have to stand and observe the number of people coming and all these details. Even manually it can be. Collection techniques are there, personal interviews are there, interviews may be conducted, telephonic interviews may be conducted, face-to-face interview, or telephonic interviews may be, questionnaires may be used. So you have used a questionnaire, you have prepared a questionnaire, so you know it, how it is. To collect data, schedules are similar to questionnaire, but it is long. It contains more number of questions. Okay, certain differences between questionnaires and schedules. As of now, we can just understand that schedules contain more number. Okay, so these are the different ways in which data can be collected. So that is the next step of research. After collecting data, execution of the project, field checks, visit the places, visit where you want to collect the data. As per the plan, you have to do the survey or data collection. So here, if it is you are collecting data from the respondent whom you are going to collect data from, so their cooperation is required. It is, and the approach of the researcher is also important. Okay, now it is people who are having smartphones, Google apps, it is much easier. So what you have done is Google Forms you have through social media, and they will fill it and send. And again, how many number of people fill it and send. That is a cooperation. You might send it to 100 people will send. Maybe some 20 people only will fill it and send it back. For other people, you will have to call them, request them. So that is important. So how you approach them? You cannot just order them, hey, I have sent you the Google form, fill it and give it to me. You cannot tell that. You have to request them. Okay, you have to. I have sent you a questionnaire in the form of Google form. Kindly take some time in filling that questionnaire, which will be of doing a research. Okay, so such request has to be done. Otherwise, previously you would have, even now for some studies where you cannot reach the customers through smartphones and Google Forms, you will have to go with the questionnaire over to them. Okay, it may be it's something like, say we say that mall intercept. Mall intercept is where you go to a shops or mall, you stand outside after shopping, you are going to intercept them and you have to request them, say that who you are and why you are there, what you are doing. You have to say that I am doing a study on this area and I would request you to fill this questionnaire. That is how questionnaires are filled. Okay, so that is where the cooperation of respondents. Not everybody will respond properly. Maybe few percentage of people would be arrogant. They may not. You have to put all your efforts. You will have to be, obliging. You have to request them for filling the data, collecting the data. So that is about, survey method. You have to execute. If it includes focus group and interviews, so that has to be conducted. There also cooperation of respondents is important. Right, so cooperation of respondents is important when you are collecting the primary data. Secondary data, there is no question of cooperation. You are collecting from the existing studies which has already been published. Only. So here in this stage, you are doing the project or research as per the plan, as per the research design that you have planned. Okay. So by this stage, you would have already collected the data. After collecting data, what has to be done? The first stage is coding, tabulation, coding and tabulation. So now again, when as we are familiar with Google Forms, so their coding, tabulation, and all automatically happens. The software takes care of it. Otherwise, you will have to do manual coding. Okay, coding is nothing but, so just imagine you have collected data from thousands of respondents. Okay, mainly I'm giving the example of if you are collecting data through questionnaires. Okay, so what happens? Question, male or female? Okay, there's a question, male or female. Thousands of like that, different questions are there in a questionnaire. Maybe around 20, 30, 40 questions may be there. For each question, there will be taking one simple example, say the gender, male or female. So two options are there. Other questions, there will be more options. So here in this case, two options. So for these options, you are going to give code. Say male, you will give A, and female, you will give B. Why A, why B? It is not. It's just a code, just a some for identification. So what you will do? You will give code for every response like that. So it will become very easy for you to, condense the data. Condense. You need now out of 1,000 people, how many are male, how many are female, you have to calculate. Now because of software is there, it is much easier. But otherwise, manual coding has to be done for all the responses, which will help you to bring down the data into a condensed form. Then tabulation is the next step, where after coding, you go on calculating. For this example, how many number of males, how many females. Each questionnaire you have to check, and you have to mark A, how much. A means I have said I have coded as male. For male, I have given a code A. For female, I have given a code B. Okay, I'll go on putting bars, one, two, like that. Okay, so that is tabulation. Normally tabulation, you draw one, you just draw, then another one, another also says A, like that, like that. So like this. Totaling, nothing but totaling the number of responses is called as tabulation. So after tabulation, you should be able to get a table. So this table in this particular response, I should be able to get out of 1,000 how many were males, how many were females. So that you will get after tabulation. Tabulation is nothing but calculation. Okay. So data to be condensed into a meaningful form. So data that you, when you want to analyze, you need the data in a condensed form, right? For all the responses, what is the response of 1,000 people for that question, for this question, like that. You need it everything in a table form. For this, now we are using computers. Percentage are used, statistical formulas are used to analyze the data. Then next is, ninth step is testing the hypothesis. They have said that there will be a hypothesis for the study. Now you have to test it. So how to test it? So we said that we have to check whether, so in our example I said has a significant influence on sales. Nothing but we are telling that advertising is influencing sale. Okay, significant means significant, not just mild. Significant influence that the sales of Samsung mobile phones. So that is our hypothesis for this. Just taking an example. So this I have to test. How to test? There are different statistical tests available depending on the nature of data. Okay, there are different types of data that also we'll be seeing in the coming slides. Okay, different types of data are there. Based on that, you are going to apply the different tests. So different tests are chi-square test is there, T test is there, F test is there, ANOVA is there. So different tests are there. Based on that test, you are based on the data type and sample numbers, you are going to apply specific tests. And based on the result, you are accepting or rejecting the hypothesis. You may accept the hypothesis if the test values are certain level, and if it is below a certain level, you are rejecting the hypothesis. Depending on the test results, you will accept or reject the hypothesis. Acceptance means what is my hypothesis here? I said that advertisement has a significant influence on sales. Accepting means I am accepting that hypothesis statement. I am rejecting hypothesis means it means that advertisement does not have any significant influence on sales. That becomes like that. So that is based on the test results. I am going to accept or reject. And finally, generalization and interpretation. So based on your data, after analysis, you will have to generalize. Say Samsung mobile phone, you are doing a study on the satisfaction. So out of 1,000 people, maybe 80% are highly satisfied. Then you will generalize it to the whole population. Whole population is all the users of Samsung users are highly satisfied with Samsung mobile phone. That is generalizing. So what is applicable to this sample is applicable to the whole population also. That is generalization. And interpretation. So what do you understand by these findings? Meaning for the findings. Then final step is preparation of the report. So you have to document this research. So till now what you have done a research, you have collected so many data, you analyzed it, you have tested hypothesis. This all has to be documented. How to document? Not okay. You might have seen project reports. So it is like that. So project report, there are certain parts in that. Okay, that is is there what to be done. So now recently I have given you a survey, you have prepared a small report for that, right? So otherwise, these are the different sections broadly. Preliminary pages. Preliminary pages means which will contain the certificates, the cover page, okay, of tables, list of figures, all that becomes the preliminary pages. The main text is the main part of the report, where it may contain the various chapters: introduction, analysis, discussion, concepts, findings, conclusion, all that. Okay. Then finally, it is the end matter, last, say, bibliography, appendixes. Appendixes is anything that you want to substantiate your report, some pictures, something mentioned. What is preliminary pages? The title, acknowledgement, forward, table of contents, all that. Then second part, introduction, main report, findings, conclusion. Third part, the end matter, is bibliography, appendices. And when you're writing report, there are certain things that has to be remembered. It should be, language should be very simple. It should be not too lengthy. You should not, pull a matter and should be very clearly objective. No vague expressions. Vague expressions are the words that we use in my speaking, with our friends and other relatives and all, or you are messaging some vague terms, no vague, or or abbreviations used in reports. So it's a professional writing. Okay, I, me, he, you, and those words should not be used. The research I found in the study, it was very useful for me, not like this. Okay, you have read the study was done for the purpose of gaining practical knowledge. Sir, that word and say some vague terms that I mentioned. It seems, there may be. These are vague terms, so that should not be used in writing the report. These are the different steps involved in process. So with this, we conclude today's session.